Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm currently a senior at Kaplan Pomona. I study marketing and I have a little bit of experience in social media as well. I also have a little bit of experience in personal video editing as well. I used to make my own short films back in the day. And so I used multiple softwares to do video editing, but for the focus of today, CapCut is going to be our specialty. CapCut is free. Actually, I'm going to drop a link in the chat to download CapCut. Feel free to download it right now if you want. You can follow along. You don't have to. I believe, yes, this is recorded, so totally no pressure, essentially. And this is going to be a very introductory kind of workshop, so you won't expect to see any shortcuts, no fancy keyboard key bindings or anything like that. Everything you see will be done totally on screen. And so that also means that if you're working off of a Mac or you're working off of Windows, it should be the same procedure. I think I don't have a Mac, so I hope it'll be okay. Anyways, go ahead if you haven't download that if you'd like. There shouldn't be any other files or anything that we'll be working with today because CapCut actually has some pre-built files and tools that we will be using for today. But let's see. Starting straight from the beginning. So I haven't even opened up CapCut yet, but when you open it up, I'm going to share my screen. This is something that you should see right here. There we go. These are a few of my personal projects, so don't worry too much about that. But when you sign up for and download CapCut, this is the first thing that you should see. There's a sign in up here. CapCut is totally free. You don't even have to make an account. So don't even bother with that. And a lot of these things, they're really upgrading their AI features. And that's okay so far. I think that a lot of their AI features isn't too streamlined just yet. So we're still gonna do things manually. So to make a new project right up here, this big blue text box, we're gonna create a project that's actually gonna open up a different tab. So I'm gonna have to change my windows here. Um, Once you open up that, this is what you should see right here. This looks like a lot. I know it looks like a lot, but it's actually very simple in terms of everything is pretty much very intuitive and there's only four sections. So if we break it down, let's say this one's the top left corner here, this one's the top middle section and the top right, and you have this big bottom section. So just a quick overview, I'm just going to go through everything here and then we'll actually start using them. So on the top left here, you're going to see some symbols and they're titled media, audio, text, stickers, effects, transitions, captions, filters, adjustments, templates, and an AI avatar. Media is basically any videos that you want in terms of like, or also photos. Audio is going to be for, of course, audio editing. Text is if you wanted to add subtitles or anything like that. Stickers is just little emojis that you can put here and there. Effects is also like filters that you might find on like TikTok or something like that. Transitions are pretty essential. They kind of play into the media when you want to switch in between clips. Text and captions also kind of are similar, but these captions are automatic, so that's kind of cool. Filters, they are for filtering in general the entire screen. And so they're really good for color grading or color editing. So if you have two scenes that are a little bit different colors, let's say that you shot one during the day and one at like the evening and you kind of don't have the shadows right, you can put on a filter to kind of get them to be more synchronized. Adjustment, that's more for fine tuning. We don't really do much with that. Templates is pre-made templates. Oftentimes, CapCut, you have to know that it's mainly targeted for short form content. CapCut is a social media video editing software. We could use it to make long form content. So a lot of the templates you might find on here are like trendy videos that you might see. An AI avatar, I'm just gonna be honest, I don't know what that is. That's new. So yeah. Um, Okay, great. So for the import tool right here, this is the import section. So let's say that you went out in the field and you got some footage or you downloaded some videos. You got three videos. You would drag and drop them from your files on your computer right into here. And so actually, I'm not going to use any of my files, but there's pre-made files on here on the left. So you can see media, Subprojects, yours, AI, media, spaces, and library. If we click on library, there's a whole library of CapCut made videos and images. Another thing to note is that a lot of the tools that you might see later on throughout this entire workshop will have this purple diamond up here. That purple diamond is for premium or pro members of CapCut. So we're not going to use any of that. Don't worry too much about that. They're nice tools, but I don't really want to pay that much. So we're not going to use that. There's also green screens here. So like let's say you wanted to have like a TV stock image and you wanted to put I don't know, one of your own images on that TV. You can also use that. Backgrounds are just, in generic backgrounds, intro and endings, like the old 2016 YouTube intros and ending outros. Transitions, like the type of stuff that you would see like we'll be right back stuff. Scenery, of course, just in general scenery, atmosphere, and life. And so, I guess for the purpose of this demo, we can use this car. So we can just click on it, and we'll actually see a preview video in the center right here. And we can also see that it's a little bit of a small number here that says 14. That's 14 seconds. The number on the left of the colons are seconds, and the number the number on the right of the colons are seconds, and the number on the left are minutes. Let's say that we like this one. We can click this plus to add to our. I don't really know what to call this. I just call it like the little workshop right here, like the little workbench. So let's just choose two for the purposes of this demo. So then let's say we have this presenter guy. Let's do that too. We'll add that. So that's how you would import videos from the library into here. But let's say like these videos were files on your computer. Like I said, just drag them and put them into here. If you want, you can also just drag them straight to the workshop, but it's a little bit easier to see all your clips in one section than it is to see it on a line. Okay, so I kind of briefly went over here too. This is the player. This is where you would get a preview of all the clips that you have. There's a little play button here, so you can click play right there, and you'll see the little preview. You can also change the playback quality right there, the zoom, the ratio, and if you want to make this full screen like that, you could. You don't have to. Also over here on the right, this is more like a dynamic section right here because it changes depending on what you click. So if I just click off screen, there's nothing here. It actually shows what project title this is. Right now it's 0912. You can change that at the end. The path meaning where it's going to be downloaded to, and just in general, just regular stats that we don't have to worry about right now. But if we click on the video that we want to edit, this will be different. And so we can see here, video. There's a lot of tools that we have right here. These ones we won't be using with the purple diamonds. But let's say that we wanted to, remove a background. You can do this. Mask something on there. You can do that. Retouch, stuff like that. Speed, animations. Yeah. Moving on to this bottom section here, then. A lot of tools here, tiny tools. So this one is just to change your mouse into a selector tool or splitter tool or anything like that. For the purpose of this, we're just using a select tool, so it's just going to look like my mouse. There's of course the undo and reset buttons right here. Control Z, typical. Split tool, that's for splitting clips and keeping those clips. You also have to delete, so everything I believe on the left goes away, but you keep everything on the right. Same thing on the right side, but everything gets deleted on the right side. Delete also. Markers. Markers are actually a really good tool that are utilized to signify when you want to add certain transitions or certain cuts or anything like that. They're basically just like a bookmark for you to know, like this exact frame is where I want to put something. Cropping, that's when you would just shorten or change the, I guess, aspect ratio of a certain shot. These ones, freeze, reverse, mirror, that's just, kind of like filters as well for your videos. Transcripts, that's for if there's dialogue that's spoken. It's actually free, so I think that's a new feature in which it'll actually provide like subtitles automatically. Split scenes, that's also AI stuff. Remove background, that's also AI stuff in which it'll just keep the subject of the video, I think. Auto adjust, I'm not too sure. And then these ones are premium, so we don't need to worry about this. This one's also really cool. I hear this one's actually quite relevant as well. This is for making a voiceover. So let's say you're doing narration or anything like that. You wanted to put your own voice on top of video. You can click that voiceover and do from within CapCut a voiceover. Everything to the right here is kind of like presets to make they're like quality of life settings. And so these are just like main track auto snapping. Like you can see like I'll show this real quick. Like if I do this, it kind of snaps. But if like I turn it off or something like that, like doesn't snap. I don't know. It's subtle. Linkage and stuff like that. Don't need to worry about this. Except for here, this zoom bar, it actually is important for really nailing individual frames. And then we can also see down here, these are the times of the video, so the length of your video in seconds. So you also have this line that we use a lot often. This is called the playback head right here. And we use this to drag and select which specific frames we want to edit. So you can see, like, let's say I wanted to edit 8 seconds into the shot. We move the playhead directly to the 8 seconds, and this is that exact frame at the 8 seconds. Here, we can see that this is our video track. So eventually when we add audio and text, you'll see that we have 3 different tracks. They're going to be in different subsections, but we can edit individual tracks as well. For example, lock track, meaning that we put a lock on it so you can't move it, you can't edit it for now, so you don't make any mistakes. You can also unlock that if you're trying to edit. Hide track, if you don't want to see it on the preview or the player. You can also mute the track. In this case, it's just a video track, so there is no audio. And track settings, you can make it tall so you can see it a little bit better. I personally like that more. And audio waveform size, we'll do that at 60%. That is if you had a video that was like, for example, if you were to shoot something on iPhone, in which the file includes a video file and an audio file, it would pop up as a video on top and the audio waveform at the bottom. Okay, so now that we kind of got that through, we can go into the nitty gritty a little bit about the video sections. So in general, just some tips and things like that. When 2 clips are jumped in between each other, we call that kind of like a cut. Kind of like what you see on the movies in which the director yells cut. It's when they want to change shots of videos. And so we can force a cut in which we would use this split tool here. We move the playback head to where we want to cut. Like I said, I'll just move it to the 8 seconds and we'll click split and it creates 2 different clips in which we then can move around and play with whenever we want, like that. If you didn't want to keep one side or the other, you can just split it and then delete the other side with the delete button right here. Just click on that clip that you want to delete, and we'll just click delete like that. Super simple. Let's see. So now it should cut a good decent chunk of our video. So before there was a huge long part, but now it just jumps straight to this section. We also have tools to do speeding up and slowing down up here in the dynamic section. And so if we just click on the speed, let's say we want this car to go even faster, right? We bump the speed to 100%. So there you go, super fast. But let's say we want to slow it down. We can actually also slow it down maybe 25%. Everything slows down. And you can see that it's a little bit choppy. This is something that a lot of people typically overlook. Just in general, for a tip in video editing, if you know that you want something in slow motion, record your film at a higher frame rate, because this frame rate is the amount of photos that you see within a second. And so in this case, I believe this shot was filmed at 30 frames per second. And if we're slowing it down at a quarter of the speed, you can see there's clearly very choppy motions. However, there was more frames, more images to fill in those gaps, slow-mo would look a lot more smooth. And so that's just a tip that I learned personally because I do a lot of slow mos in my stuff, and I always forget to record at a higher frame rate, and it always looks choppy. So keep that in mind. There's also so let's say that we wanted to so let's speed this up to double. We can also work around curves. So curves are basically the speed in which your edits are put in. So there are a couple of pre-made curves. Let's just use the jump cut curve here. This looks a little bit complicated. Don't worry. It basically is a visual representation of how fast your clip will speed up. So if we move here, we can see that it's at a normal pace, I believe. And then once we get to here, it'll just speed up real quick and then return back to its normal pace. We can change that by just clicking and dragging. So let's say that we wanted to have it super fast for longer, and we just wanted to have super sharp cutoffs. We can then play the clip. Oop. We can play the clip again from the beginning. So you can see it's going at one constant rate, and then it'll just quickly jump to being super fast and then back down. So that's more so if you wanted to do some dynamic editing in terms of like the speeds. A lot of people typically use this, but it's very subtle. You don't really notice this, but it does a lot to enhance certain shots in your film. These animations here also are available. Most of them are paid, but you can add, for example, let's do this one right here. That's just the intro. So actually, a cool thing is like once you click these buttons, they don't actually directly apply to your video yet, but they showcase on the player just so you can see what it would look like. So example, slide right, slide left, typical transitions. Adjustments, let's not worry about that. That's a little bit more advanced. And these ones scale. So if you, let's say you wanted to zoom in, let's say we want to zoom in on this guy's face, right? We can drag the scale bar, and from there we can actually click and drag on a player to move our scene right there. And so for the rest of the video, it's now just zoomed in on that guy's face. Awesome. If we wanted to make, or if we wanted to go revert back to where we were, I think we can just click this reset button right here, and it goes back to the same settings as we had before. Yeah. There's also a different, let's say you wanted to change the rotation angle. There's this tiny little knob here, a tiny little wheel. You can click and drag and do little 360s with this guy. If not, you can just set this degree angle to 0, and it brings you back to there. We could also just move the position of the video here. Keep in mind if you're moving a video out of frame, there will be this huge black box here or here, wherever you move it to. It'll only show what's available on the frame. And so what else? Kind of a little bit similar to cuts, we're going to work on transitions. So remember how I said on the top left, there's this transition section here. We're going to go ahead and click there. And there's similar to these animations, they're also right here. In which, let's say we wanted to make a smooth transition between this guy talking in an office and this car. Right now, it's a little bit jarring. Just quickly jumping there. We want a little bit of a smoother transition. Let's say we can choose. Oh, wait. Also, there's different selections of transitions here, but these are just the trending ones. Let's do a superimpose. So it would look kind of like that, right? And so let's say that, yeah, I kind of like that. You just click and drag, and you just drag it in between your two clips right there. And you can see now there's that transition that we want. If you want to make this transition longer or shorter, we can hover over the edge of this transition bar and drag it out. So that duration you would see over here on the right lasts a little bit longer. And so you can see the actual animation for the transition is a little bit longer. I liked it the way it was before. I believe it was at, yeah, half a second. So we'll keep it like that. And so there's many, many different transitions that you can play around with, and a wide variety of clips that you can mess around with as well. In general, If you don't want your film looking like a PowerPoint slide, don't use any transitions that are too uh, out of the ordinary, like a cut to black and cut back, unless it's your style. Preferably, you would want to choose transitions that provide a smooth transition. You want to give the viewer a chance to see everything without being taken out of the experience. And so another thing that we can do also is filters. So as we can see, this office setting, it's very like white lit. It's like an office, fluorescent lighting is probably up here. And here's like in the middle of a tunnel with blue lighting. Let's say that we wanted to kind of match the vibe a little bit. We can go to filters, and there's different types of filters here on the left. And these are also the more trendy filters, but we can actually search for filters. So let's say we want to do a nighttime filter. Uh, Nighttime filter. Because this is a little bit like nighttime. I want to choose something that's a little bit more blue. Or let's do blue actually. Uh, that's a bit blue, but you can kind of see that's a little bit better. Yeah, yeah, that's a little bit better. You can kind of see how that changes the video in which there's a little bit of a bluish hue or bluish tint as it compared to as it was before. And we can actually just click that and put the filter actually on that area. So interesting thing is filters act as a timed kind of node here. Like how I said, there's different tracks. This is the filter track. You can see the video before the filter gets applied, and once it actually hits there, that's the filter being applied. And you can see now the transition into uh, that blue lit tunnel. It's a little bit smoother than it was before here. So the color differences is less jarring, and ideally we want to keep that filter across both clips. So it comes in like that. You have this going on. Let's go ahead, switch. And yeah, so the color differences isn't that jarring. It's a subtle change, but it definitely helps to maintain the fluidity of your clips. So next is going to be a little bit more challenging, I'd say, in terms of keyframes. So keyframes are essential to a lot of video editing, no matter what platform you have. And that's to actually change uh, specific zoom ins or zoom outs uh, on the fly, kind of. So let's say that we wanted to have a video, or in our video, we wanted to zoom in on this board right here specifically. So as it goes, it's panning, and we want to make sure we have a zoom in on that board while the video is playing. We would add a keyframe similar to how we would add the positions, where was it, or the zoom, sorry, scale right here, right here. These diamonds right here are added keyframes. So we would start in the position where we want our keyframe or our animation to begin. So we have our playhead right here. And once we move it to where we want it to end, we want to make sure that we zoom in on the board. We'll actually zoom in now and move it here. And that'll automatically set the end keyframe. So you can see on my timeline, there's actually one beginning keyframe there and one end keyframe there. Once we play the video, it actually will kind of zoom in to that section throughout the entire thing. It is a little bit weird. I don't know why it's doing this. Um, but yeah. Oh, that's because it's the animation. But yeah, so keyframes are a little bit harder to master, but you kind of have to understand that like the transition from the first keyframe to the end keyframe is dependent on how like quickly, I guess, or how close they are together. If you wanted to zoom in more, so let's say, I guess we haven't really touched this one. So we can have this one at 100, add a keyframe there, and zoom in also that much right there. So when we play the video, oops, sorry, hold on, add a keyframe there, zoom in right there. Yeah, I think this works. Yeah, so it zooms in like that. Let's say we wanted to zoom in faster. that's where we would go into speed, and I think it would apply with jump cut as well, and it just zooms in even more if we had it longer. So we had a custom one. Let's do something like this. Oh, that's actually for the end. My bad. Anyways, yeah, keyframes are tough, so don't worry too much about that. Um, but that's how you would get, like, for example, if there's a certain aspect or a certain part that you want to emphasize in your shots, keyframes are the way to do it with zoom ins and zoom outs. So that's pretty much it in terms of basics for videos. There's also audios though that we want to do, and so we're gonna move over to this audio tab. And music selection is actually quite important for the tone that you're trying to make whatever your video. So let's say you're trying to do some sort of documentary or narration type of video. You want a song that's, of course, not like a pop song, but more like instrumental background song. And so there's definitely other songs out here that we can use. Let's do some dreamy song, and I guess we can do this lo-fi Tokyo song. Um, I don't know if you guys can hear this. Let me know. Rachel, can we hear that? Okay, cool. Let me change that. So it actually might be loud, but we'll see. Hold on. Um, Give me 1 second. Um, Hold on. Okay. Okay, let me know if you can hear this right now. It might be loud. We'll see. Do you hear that? Okay, cool. Was that loud? Okay, cool. So as you can see, there's a different track at the bottom, which is for our audios. So let's say you had a voiceover or anything like that. Same way you would move it over into media, you would put it into this section right here, and you click and drag on the bottom here. See a question in the chat. On CapCut, specifically, these that you find on the library are actually free and non-copyright, so you can use them at your at for anything you want, as long as it's your video was made with CapCut. I know that there's like sometimes some people get copyrighted for using it on a different platform or something like that. There's a notification that actually pops up saying, like, if you're going to use any of our shots, make sure you're editing with CapCut. So as long as you're using CapCut, they should be okay to use. And so, yeah, we can see that the music's like that. Let's actually make this track height a little bit taller. So you can see kind of like a wave form or wavelength of the audios and the individual volumes of the songs. We can see right here it's actually peaking at the red. Um, Ideally, it's actually good to have it red, because a good rule of thumb to know is that people can always put their volume lower down to zero, but they can't make their volume higher, beyond the limits of their speaker. So I typically always go for something that's louder than it is quieter, because yeah, the viewer can always just turn down the volume, but they can't turn it up more than the limits of their headphones or speakers. But for the purpose of this one, because I can't hear myself talk, we're gonna use this line right here. That's how you adjust the entire volume for the entire audio track. So if you move it down, you can see the entire wavelengths move up and down. And we'll just move it down so that only a few tiny, tiny bits, I don't know if you can see that, just tiny pixel right there is above the red. And so I don't know if you can hear the sound difference now or the volume difference. It's a little bit different. Yeah. So that's where you would put in an audio track. And you can do these cool things where you can fade it in, and you can also fade audio tracks out. So if you hover your mouse over this actual tab, you'll see a little dot right here. This little dot, you can use that to drag out this arch. That'll actually fade in the music. So you can kind of hear it slowly creep in. Same thing if you move it towards the end. Oh, this track is quite long, actually. Let's do shrink our timeline there. You can see that again right there, and we can also see up here that the dynamic section. That's how it will fade out, so that towards the end of the song, it'll kind of fade out. It depends on where the actual song actually cuts off. But that's something that you can do there. And the cool part also is you can add a voiceover for narration in the actual CapCut app itself. And so there's this tiny section right here, right next to all the quality of life modifications over here. That's voiceover. So I'm actually going to mute this tab right here real quick and click the voiceover. VoiceOver kind of changes my screen and it highlights the player. And you can see my microphone up here moving around. Uh, this is the wrong input device. Make sure you have the right input device. I'm using a Yeti Nano. And the volume, like I said, typically I would have it louder. Like a good level of audio would be like at your loudest point, you're barely touching the red. So ideally, you're touching the orange kind of somewhere around there, like that. If not, you can also just move closer to your microphone. And let's say that, and then echo reduction, let's do that as well. Mute project, that's so it once you're the player will actually play the video that you're editing on, and you can do a voiceover based on what you're seeing. Um, we already muted the audio track, so we don't have to do that. But so let's say we wanted to do something real quick. We can click the start recording. It'll give us a countdown. Okay, hi. I'm this guy. I'm giving this presentation, and I have hands and I'm holding a pen. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. So we click that again to end our recording, and we can see eventually right here a new audio track. Let me zoom in on that. A new audio track, which is our voiceover. Okay, hi. I'm this guy. I'm giving this presentation, and I have hands and I'm holding a pen. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so you can see that's how you would do a live voiceover in CapCut right there. I kind of also notice how there's this section right here, kind of like a millennial pause type thing. We don't want that, so we're gonna cut that out. By on the left side, we're gonna click and drag that over, just barely enough, so that it doesn't get any more of that blank space. And so we would actually also click on our clip right here and use the marker tool. So on audio tabs, we have the marker tool for like different types of beats. Say that you wanted to make an edit with like different songs and there's specific beats that you want to transition off of. You can add this marker to signify like, oh, this at this section right here, there's a beat and you want to sync your clip to it. But I didn't really have anything important to say right there, but I wanted to make sure that it's synced up with the video. Actually, let me do another one. Let's see. I'm gonna do a voiceover just so that I can show something at the cut. So another voiceover right here. Before I start, we'll do a pen. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. Bam. Okay. Strange, but see, we can see where the highest level of my voice comes into play and where we want that uh, transition where I say bam right in the middle of that. So then when we actually play it back, bam. Okay. You can kind of see how the audio lines up with that transition. Kind of cool. If we also want, we can also condense our tracks into there. And so it looks a little bit neater. And let's bring in back that audio track right there. And let's see what happens. Oh, it's gonna be bad. Okay, hi. I'm this guy. I'm giving this presentation, and I have hands, I'm holding a pen. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. Bam. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, not my best work. Purely for demonstration purposes, but you can see where we're going with this. Of course, you would have to tweak the audio settings to your liking, and of course, you would have to tweak your voiceover. If you're too quiet, raise the voice. If you're too loud, lower it. And nearing the end, we also have captioning. So if let's say you wanted to do subtitles. Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. Reduce sound for background music. Oh, yes. So same reducing sound and audio for every single audio track will be the same, in which you have this line in the middle of the track right here. You can actually also just click on the audio track that you're trying to edit, and remember this dynamic uh, workbench right here. You can actually see the decibels. And you can make it louder by clicking and dragging on the right, or lower down here. Lower, so that line right there, it marks the default. You can actually go even quieter than default by going down there, or like I said, that line going up or down. Same way, same thing. Yeah. Um, so yeah, for our captionings or our text, let's say that I wanted to put the words bam where I say bam. We can click on the top left for this text box right here. And of course, there's different templates that you can do, but we can just do a default text bam right here. Okay. Also, another thing is with video editing, you will hear the sounds of, in this case, me, but also the music that you're working with all the time. Like you'll be working with text, you just hear this, bam, this, forever and ever and ever. That's why muting these protects your sanity. So we'll do that. But anyways, let's put in a text box right there. We can click and drag specifically. So same way, text boxes open another track on your editing workbench, and text boxes are on screen for that amount of time that you see right there. So let's say that we play it, you can see the default text is on there, and it will actually leave right there. So let's actually type in BAM with the dynamic section right here. We can just type in the words BAM. And there's different effects. So if you want a different font or something like that, this is typical for like TikTok videos that you'd see, or Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. You might see these different fonts, like the Mr. Beast type videos. And you can also change the font size and whatnot, like that. Scaling, typical, like, yeah, moving bigger, closer. Opacity, if you want to do a little bit transparent or not. And if you want to do transitions for the actual text itself, we would just use the same animation tab. So for example, this fade in we can do. So let's use that. So now when we play our video, it fades in. And also when it fades out, we can do a fly out. And actually for the purposes of this clip should, since it's saying bam, we want something explosive, right? Yeah, this works. So now we should see something like, I'm holding a pen. All right, cool. Yeah, awesome. Bam. Oh, my bad. Yeah, move it to where you want it to be. Bam. There we go. And it'll stay on screen for the duration of this clip right here. So if I just want it, as long as I say bam, bam. Okay. Yeah, like that. And so let's say you have multiple words, you would actually manually go in and do different text boxes at different sections. So for example, if I said, all right, cool. Yeah. If I said, all right, cool, I would make another default text and drag and drop it to the times that I said, all right, cool, and stuff. It's kind of tedious doing that way. That's why we have AI tools in which there's like captions right up here. I think, oh, never mind. It's a pro feature. Uh, yeah. I believe you can do something similar with captionings on TikTok. But that's, of course, you would have to upload it to TikTok or something like that. But in terms of live captioning and stuff like that, it's pretty manual for the most part. If you're making a documentary, of course, there's going to be no captions. But if you're making a short form video, these captions are kind of essential for grabbing someone's attention nowadays. Um, but it's also a short form video, so it's not too bad. Anyways, uh, that's pretty much it for that captioning. And we can also move on towards uploading. So let's say that I'm finished with this, right? I will actually move over to the right where it says export, and we'll click that button right there. We don't need to do this, do we? Oh, wait, sorry, my bad. I was using a curve feature. That was a pro feature. Let's get rid of that. Standard. Okay. Oh, man. That was free before. My bad. They just changed it this morning. Curve was supposed to be free. I guess not. So let's get rid of that. Does that work now? Yeah, cool. So when we go to export, we can see that we have our thumbnail here. We can edit that cover to a section of our video that we want to use. So let's say we wanted to do this BAM section right there. We go edit. And this is where you can edit your thumbnail as well. And it's essentially like Canva or Photoshop. Very, very simple. But let's say that that's what my thumbnail is going to be. I click save. It's going to take a little bit. Boom. It says save right there. And add video cover at the beginning. We can do that as well. Or not. That's totally preference. That basically just shows the thumbnail for a frame in the beginning. This name right here, we can change it to the BAM video right there. And you can see where it's going to export to on your actual computer. And then the resolution, I have been editing in 4K, but that's typically not what most uh, videos use. Typically, people use 1080p. That's essentially HD. So whenever someone says HD, that's yeah 1080p. Bitrate recommended. Codec, don't even mess with that. Format, this is like if you wanted to do a .mov or .mp4. Typically, people ask for .mp4s. And something to note also is that when you're shooting with an iPhone and you're trying to like uh tra whoa transition your files from your iPhone to your PC, they typically are in the form of an MOV. And so you may have troubles converting those, or maybe not. Just be aware of what files types you're sending around. Frame rate, that's what I was talking about before in terms of how many images are shown in a second. 60 FPS is standard for like high-end YouTube videos, or like like when you're watching at 1080p 60 FPS, that's the average. 30 FPS is typical for a lot of shorter form videos, and 24 FPS is actually the frame rate that movies are shot at. So if you want that same movie type vibe, you would export at 24 frames per second. Audio, oh, yeah, no. Audio, yeah, you don't really have to do that. If you click audio, it'll only export, or it'll make another file that's only just the audio in your entire project here. In this case, we don't really need to do that. You can also export it as a GIF, but I don't think that's really necessary. So once we do finish with that, we can click export. It'll take a while. Video compiling and everything like that. Since this was like 2 minutes, so yeah, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. We can see right here. 101 megabytes. Okay, hi. This relatively quick. Um, but yeah, so after that, it's downloaded on my computer, and you can actually straight from CapCut upload it directly to TikTok or YouTube if you sign in and have the caption right here. There's also a preview of the TikTok size if you were to upload it to TikTok right there as well. Share, open folder, and yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say with the beginnings for CapCut. If there's any questions, please let me know because I feel like I kind of went fast. I hope you guys all got this. Rachel, what did you think? Anything to say? All right.
Questions, anybody?
If you have any questions, or if you in the future might have any questions, I believe this is recorded, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Where can they find this recording?
So we are going to go ahead and edit it a little bit, and then I will definitely be sending it out. I think everyone here is actually so I'll be we'll make this the Digital Humanities Consortium. We'll make it available via our website and via various venues.
Cool, cool. All right. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen right here. Yeah.
Did we have any questions about things like uh, intros and outros or
And also in general, if you had any questions about film or, making your own videos as well, I can also help out with that.
I will say it was very often when I had a question, you would circle back to it, like you would get to the thing. So I thought it was really well organized. Um, are there any tips that you have maybe? Oh, actually, Jenny
Uh,
had a question. How long
yeah.
could
For CapCut, it's made, or it's really tailored towards short form videos, and short form videos are typically either the templates are like 1 minute, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes. That's typically what CapCut is used for. But Uh, there's really no limit for CapCut you can use it for, as long as like you're dedicated enough, and you can make a whole movie on CapCut, really, like a 2 hour feature length film. Um, it's just about, what how much time you have. Rachel, I think you said something about like tips, if I had any tips. Yeah, so I think most of you guys have some sort of task. I believe like they had to make a narration video or something, kind of like a documentary thing.
Yeah, so for my students, they have to do a documentary. So we're doing shorter videos to start out, the 1 to 3 minute videos that are showcasing a primary source, and then we'll have a larger project, which will be more in the 7 to 10 minute range, which is still pretty short, but has is a little bit more in terms of organizing clips, things like having B-roll, like the potential of trying to like put together things like overlays of interviews with different visuals. I mean, that's obviously more complicated stuff. Um, but I don't know if you had any tips in terms of
Yeah.
organizing.
So similar to what I mentioned before with that initial, I stopped sharing my screen, but on the top left where you can upload all your media, I would say find all the clips you wanted to include. So just it's always better to have more than less. So just if you're recording something by hand, record longer than you would think you would need it for, like significantly longer. I'd say like 30% longer. So if you know you're gonna end a clip, keep rolling 5 seconds after you've already like finished saying what you needed to say. And then like circle or highlight all your files and add it all at once into the media. And from there, you start picking and pulling and start whittling it down in the actual bottom line of the workbench. And that's where you're going to actually start cutting up your clips. And then in terms of like finding B-roll or stuff like that, make sure I would say make a script first. Make your script, know what you're going to talk about, and then find images that support what you're going to talk about. Oftentimes, in other scenarios, it's going to be the opposite. Typically, you would film first, then talk. But in this case, if you're making like a little documentary or something like that, it really is heavy on the dialogue. So record or have a script, find videos that include, let's say that I make a script and I say something about like penguins like to eat fish, something like that. I would need to find a clip that either has a penguin, has a fish, or is a penguin eating a fish. You want clips that are relevant or pertaining to the things that you're talking about. And you want to add them near or on the moment where you say the words penguin or fish. So it all helps to just provide a visual. Think of like this documentary type of thing is a dynamic PowerPoint in which you choose when to change the slides automatically. And so you already have an audio recording. You know what you're going to say. These clips act as these different slides to show the viewer a visual interpretation of what you're saying. Um, and so I know that I mentioned that voiceover feature on CapCut that requires you to have the videos over because you're making a dialogue over that. Or you can just record your entire, just say, have the script right in front of your hands, read it in a nice voice using the voiceover thing, and you'll see the whole minute or did you say like I think 1 minute or 3 minute script spoken to you, and then just drag and drop clips into there, and make sure they're the transitions in between clips are nice with the different cuts and animations, and just mess around, just play around. CapCut's really fun to use. It's just it takes a little bit of learning, but it's not hard at all by any means. So yeah, just enjoy. Anything else?
Do you ever do like ugly drafts where you like assemble it and you watch it and then you're like, okay, wait a minute, I have to rework all of this. Do you usually give yourself time to have the no, I don't like actually how this is organized. I'm gonna rework it.
Yeah, all the time. So I used to not use the media on the top left, and I actually just drag and dropped my videos straight from files onto the workbench. And I would have like 2 hour long videos there, and I didn't know which ones meant what, and I would have to watch the entire 2 long video and just manually cut, and then move those again. Um, and it's such a long process. Don't do that. Like, uh, shoot whatever videos you have. Make sure the selection of videos you got are nice. Put them in a designated area and move them into the workbench later. Don't do everything like how I did. And typically, also, a rule of thumb is let's say that you went out into the field and you recorded a video and it took you 10 seconds. You actually have 10 seconds of a video or something like that. with proper editing and cutting down, your video might actually only be on screen for 2 or 3. Editing is really, really long. It's really time intensive, and a lot of the videos that you have will be cut. And so, but the thing is, the product is so much, so worth it, really. So expect to, yeah, dedicate an amount of time to editing because, just moving things around and just seeing what goes on because you will have to just play it over and over and over again just to see if it flows well. And it's kind of like making music in which, like, once you have a hit song, you're just forced to play it forever and ever and ever, and you get tired of it. That's why I said like muting certain tracks will actually save your sanity. Um, but yeah, make sure you dedicate some time because it does take a while. Think of like, yeah, having a 10-second clip that you're editing, you will have to watch that 10-second clip at least 10 times, so that's 100 seconds at least. So yeah.
Were there other things that people wanted to revisit that we looked at, but you wanted to see again or talk about a little bit more?
Um, yeah, if anyone wanted to review a certain section, I feel like uh I feel like I went decent. I think keyframes is the one I kind of like went over real quick. Keyframes is hard though. That's like not really intro. Uh, it's kind of hard to conceptually get keyframes. You kind of have to play around with keyframes. Honestly, I learned keyframes just by doing it. It's like keyframe beginning, keyframe end. You have this position in terms like you zoom into a photo. This one's like default. That line that comes across, that's the animation length. And so you can change the animation length with that curve, but that curve is a pro feature apparently now. So, depending on how much you zoom in, I'm rambling. There's no way. I can't explain it. You just gotta you really gotta just play around with keyframes. You can add multiple keyframes too, so it doesn't have to just be two, but you have to understand that keyframes come in pairs, beginning and end. So you can have like different types of zoom ins and different types of sections in different areas. Just make sure there's like a beginning and end. Um, yeah. Anything else? If not, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. I hope this was very helpful. I know a lot of you guys are going to have to use some sort of video editing tool to make a documentary. I hope I was able to provide some assistance. If not, feel free to also reach out to me. I believe I'll be at the DHC. I think, is my email public on the thing? I have no idea.
I We can definitely share it. It's so we'll make sure that folks can reach you both in terms of with questions, but also we will start doing office hours now that folks are having assignments that are due on these.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm free most of the time if like you want to email me or yeah, during office hours. Don't know exactly when or where those office hours will be, but I'll be there. So, yeah.
Maybe right here on Zoom.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I wanted to just really give a shout out of thanks to Brian. This was really, really pretty tremendous, actually, how much you covered and really showed us how to use here. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you everyone for showing.